And there's the Reverend John Livingstone. Living in Scotland, 1603 to 1630. John Livingstone was born on the 21st of June, 1603 in Monniabroch, an old name for Kilsyth, a parish midway between Glasgow and Stirling. Just a few months earlier, King James VI of Scotland succeeded his cousin Queen Elizabeth I and became King of England and Ireland. This was an era of great change in Scotland. And there's background in education. His ministry begins, and that's the 19th century engraving of Livingstone preaching at Kirkoshots, and I showed you that in the last video upstairs. Invited to Clinchy, so I'll read this wee bit out. In August 1630, Livingstone received a letter from Sir James Hamilton, Lord Clandeboy, inviting him to come to Ulster. Hamilton was writing on behalf of the people of Clinchy, who were anxious that Livingstone should become their minister. The Scotsman accepted the appointment and travelled to County Down soon afterwards. And so there's ministry in Clinchy, Livingstone's ordination, and Ulster revivals. And there's Rathmullen Priory, where Livingstone was ordained. So that's where he was ordained. I'll have to find out where that is. Rathmullen, I've heard of Rathmullen, I think that might be down south. Hollywood Priory, scene of a religious revival in which Livingstone preached. Oh, I didn't know he'd actually preached in there. I didn't know I've done a load of videos there. And as I say, the Bruce family's buried in there. Well, some of them anyway. And then invited to America. The freedoms that Livingstone and other Presbyterian ministers enjoyed did not last, as the bishops and government began to enforce stricter rules. Livingstone was suspended as minister of Clinchy in 1631 and again in 1632, and spent some time back in Scotland. And returning to Ireland in February 1634, he found that the situation had not improved. And there's plans for immigration to America. John Winthrop Jr. visits Ulster. 19th century engraving of English nonconformist Puritans arriving in America in the early 1600s, and they're giving God thanks for safe passage. And there's Livingstone's wife, Janet Livingstone. She looks like she's in mourning there. She's all in black. That's voyage to America. The situation for Presbyterians in Ulster worsened in 1635, convincing many of them that they should move to America. In November 1635, Livingstone was again suspended as minister of Clinchy. The following March, he returned to Scotland to bid farewell to his family and friends. And that's the Eagle Wing and the voyage. Again, you can pause the video and have a wee read there. And this one here is, I think this is the crossing actually of the Eagle Wing. It says there were no waves there, but mountains of water. And that's an extract from Robert Blair's account of the voyage. But if ever the Lord spake by his winds and other dispensations, it was made evident to us that it was not his will that we should go to New England. For we foregathered with a mighty hurricane out of the northeast that broke our rudder, which yet we got mended by the skill and courage of Captain Andrew Agnew, a godly passenger. And that's an extract from John Livingstone's account of the voyage. So there you are, pretty rough. A hurricane, he says it was, John Livingstone. So there you are. And then that's a return to Scotland. That's a Greyfriars, is it? I think. No, it's the signing. 19th century engraving of the signing of the Covenant in Greyfriars, Edinburgh, with a copy of the National Covenant inset, which is there. I've been at Greyfriars. I have no videos done at Greyfriars because I didn't have my YouTube channel then, but I have been. Returned to Scotland and tells you about it. National Covenant. It says there in late 1630s was a time of great religious and political excitement in Scotland. Livingstone was a supporter of the National Covenant, which was publicly declared at Greyfriars Kirk and Kirk Scottish for Church in Edinburgh in February 1638. And then, of course, he was a minister at Stranraer for a while as well. And there's the plaque there. Reverend John Livingstone, born in Monniabroch, Kilsyth in 1603, early Protestant minister of Stranraer from 1638 to 1648. Leading Covenanter, Reverend Livingstone lived in Stranraer with his wife Janet Fleming, and in Edinburgh, married in Edinburgh, and then they were exiled eventually to Rotterdam. They actually died there in Rotterdam. Return visits to Ireland. You can pause the video there if you want to read any of that. Exiled to Holland. Writings Livingstone in his own words.